Next, I'm going to look at how can we have intervention in the foreign exchange market. Now, in order to understand intervention in the foreign exchange market, we will look at the balance sheet of our central bank. So I have balance sheet of Bank of Canada over here, or specifically the T accounts, where we're only looking at some specific variables that are changing. So on our asset side, we have foreign assets declining by $1 billion and currency in circulation also declining by $1 billion. This balance sheet is demonstrating to us what happens when the central bank purchases currency and sells foreign assets in exchange. Note, whenever currency goes down, it's no longer with the public, it is effectively reducing our monetary base. So monetary base is going down by $1 billion. So whenever we are purchasing currency, it's reducing the monetary base along with the foreign assets or international reserves of the central bank. Now, just like central banks hold securities, Government of Canada bonds or bonds issued by other large central banks, they also hold a large amount of foreign assets, typically US dollars. So when they purchase domestic currency, the foreign assets or international reserves are drained. If the central bank conducts this sale of foreign assets with another financial institution in the banking system, or if people are writing checks instead of paying with cash, we will see reserves of the deposit taking institutions going down. Now, reserves again are, remember, part of our monetary base. Monetary base is currency plus reserves. So regardless of whether the payments are made in cash to the central bank or through writing checks, which is depleting our reserves of the financial institution, overall monetary base still declines by $1 billion. So whenever we have sale of foreign assets by central bank, it depletes its foreign assets along with reducing its monetary base by the exact same amount. Conversely, you can say that sale of domestic currency will increase the monetary base and increase foreign assets for the central bank or make it gain international reserves. This scenario where the central bank is changing the monetary base through its purchase or sale of foreign assets is called unsterilized foreign exchange intervention. Let's look at the effect of this particular unsterilized foreign exchange intervention on our exchange rate for the dollar. So in this case, we know that the central bank has purchased domestic currency and sold foreign assets. In doing so, we know it has decreased its international reserves and has also decreased the money supply. Monetary base, when goes down, it ends up reducing the money supply. Now, lower money supply, remember, puts upward pressure on the domestic interest rate. And with higher domestic interest rate, demand for dollar denominated assets is going to go up and going to push the value of the dollar up. So the exchange rate for the Canadian dollar is going to appreciate. And we can see this on the diagram. You can see I have quantity of dollar assets on the x-axis, value of the Canadian dollar in terms of euros on the y-axis, and our initial equilibrium is at 0.1. Purchase of domestic currency, which is reducing our international reserves, is increasing demand and pushing the value of the dollar up. This is your unsterilized foreign exchange intervention by the central bank, where they are artificially appreciating the value of their domestic currency. A sterilized foreign exchange intervention, on the other hand, is when the Bank of Canada will counter the effect on the monetary base because of purchase of the currency by conducting an open market operation. So for example, if they had purchased currency which reduced the monetary base by $1 billion, as we saw earlier, it depleted our foreign assets by $1 billion as well. But if they accompany that with a purchase of government bonds or an open market purchase by the central bank, it will end up increasing the monetary base by $1 billion and also increase the assets by $1 billion over here. Note that the monetary base in this case is unaffected. It's not changing. And that is why this is called a sterilized foreign exchange intervention. In the case of a sterilized foreign exchange intervention, exchange rate will be unaffected. Why? Because there's no change in your interest rate. Domestic interest rate is unaffected because monetary base and the money supply are unaffected. With the domestic interest rate unaffected, nothing happens to our demand curve, and the demand curve remains stable at D1 and the currency does not change its value. So we are still working with the same initial exchange rate that we had started off with. In contrast to this, our unsterilized intervention affected the interest rate, thereby affected the demand, and thereby caused the exchange rate to appreciate, or conversely, it could have caused it to depreciate. Now let's look at the role of these unsterilized interventions with a fixed exchange rate regime. A fixed exchange rate regime is simply saying that we have a stated price for our domestic currency and we want to keep the exchange rate fixed at that level. So in this case, let's assume that price is E par in terms of euros per dollar, but the actual exchange rate is at E1. So you can see the currency is overvalued. Exchange rate is fixed at a level higher than the actual exchange rate or the actual value of the dollar. In order to maintain this exchange rate at E par, the central bank must conduct an unsterilized intervention that will stimulate the demand for dollar-denominated assets. So we know they can do that by purchasing domestic currency. They will also lose foreign assets. And in doing so, they are reducing the monetary base. With a lower monetary base, lower money supply, interest rates are driven up. And with interest rates driven up, the relative return on dollar asset has gone up, which pushes the demand curve for the dollar asset up. You can see the exchange rate will go back up to the value we want it to be at. So an unsterilized purchase of domestic currency can push the exchange rate up back to the level where we want it to be at. The problem over here is that in order to keep our exchange rate at E par, the central bank is losing international reserves. So they can continue to do that as long as they have some international reserves. If they completely run out of international reserves, they might have to go for a devaluation. A devaluation is that they will simply revise their exchange rate from E par to this lower level E1. So they're lowering the value of their currency at a new level. Similarly, we can look at the role of intervention when we want to maintain a value of the dollar which is actually below the current value. A lot of countries do that in order to stimulate their export sector, increase demand for those goods and services, and therefore stimulate their economy. In order to maintain this undervalued dollar in our case, what can the central bank do? Remember, now they want to dampen demand for dollar-denominated assets in order to ensure that the intersection happens at E par and not at E1. So in order to reduce demand, they have to reduce the interest rate in the domestic economy. And they can do that by conducting a sale of domestic currency. When the central bank now sells domestic currency, it will gain international reserves. And in doing so, they are increasing the monetary base and thereby the money supply. Now, with higher monetary base, higher money supply, interest rates are driven down. And at lower interest rate, the demand for domestic asset is going to fall. Why? Because the relative return on the dollar asset is lower than what you can get elsewhere across the globe. And with lower demand curve shifts to the left, and you can see our exchange rate has fallen to E par. We have now successfully kept our exchange rate at E par, and it is now no longer undervalued. Just like our devaluation, we will see that a central bank can choose to stop and not pursue this undervalued level of currency. And they will then simply reevaluate their currency. In a revaluation, they will increase the fixed rate of the exchange rate level to a one that is more feasible to market dynamics. Note that we mentioned the sterilized intervention earlier. A sterilized intervention does not change your monetary base. If it is not changing the monetary base, it has no effect on the domestic interest rate and thereby no effect on your relative expected return on the domestic asset. If the relative expected return is not changing, there's no reason for demand to increase or decrease. And as a result of demand curve not changing, it will not alleviate that pressure on the currency to appreciate or depreciate. So you will no longer be able to keep your exchange rate at E par. This conclusion over here leads us to a very important policy trilemma. Note that in all of our discussion in this analysis, when we were looking at flexible exchange rate, or as we saw in our later discussion for the fixed exchange rate regime, we're assuming one thing to be always there. We're assuming free capital mobility. If we have free capital mobility, our flexible exchange rate will always respond to changes in monetary policy. And within the fixed exchange rate regime, we saw that we can fix our exchange rate, but in that case, we will be letting go of our independent monetary policy. In order to clarify that, let me take you back to where we saw the unsterilized intervention in the fixed exchange rate regime. In this slide, remember, we had our Canadian dollar undervalued. In order to maintain this fixed exchange rate, we had to lower the domestic interest rate, and that was done through sale of domestic currency. Now, lowering of the domestic interest rate is essentially expansionary monetary policy. So in order to keep the exchange rate fixed at e-par, we can no longer keep our interest rates at their target level. We will have to manipulate the interest rates in order to keep our exchange rate fixed. And with the lower interest rate, we have now global capital outflow from our economy. With capital outflow, demand for dollar assets is going down, and we have successfully been able to maintain this fixed exchange rate. Likewise, in this example of overvalued Canadian dollar under a fixed exchange rate, so we want to keep it at e-par, but the actual market rate is lower, so it is overvalued. We had to conduct a contractionary monetary policy. Interest rate had to increase in order to stimulate this demand. So note, whenever we want to maintain the fixed exchange rate at a certain level, we have to let go of an independent monetary policy. We cannot have both of them at the same time. This higher interest rate was conducive for attracting demand for domestic assets, and that higher demand led to the value of the dollar being maintained at e-par. Going back to the policy trilemma, we cannot have all of these three at the same time. If we want free capital mobility with a fixed exchange rate regime, we will not be able to pursue an independent monetary policy. Conversely, if we want free capital mobility and a flexible exchange rate regime, we can have an independent monetary policy. So that is the example of most countries today, like Canada, Eurozone, United States. We have an independent monetary policy with free capital mobility, but we can now no longer control our exchange rate. We are working with a flexible exchange rate regime. Whereas for countries like Hong Kong, which have fixed their exchange rate to the US dollar, over there we see free capital mobility, a fixed exchange rate, but they have to let go of an independent monetary policy. Countries like these have to have their monetary policy in conjunction with the economy to which they have pegged their currency. For example, if the Hong Kong dollar is pegged to the US dollar, they will have to match their monetary policy with whatever the US Federal Reserve is doing. They cannot have an independent monetary policy of their own. And the third place is that of China, a country where you have independent monetary policy, fixed exchange rates, but they're only able to do both of these by having strict capital controls. So they cannot have free capital mobility while maintaining the fixed exchange rate and also having an independent monetary policy. That is essentially what this triangle or the policy trilemma is referring to. We cannot simultaneously pursue all of these three situations. We will always end up giving up at least one of them. So that brings us to our conclusion for this topic. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will see you guys next time.